Hey, Marianne Hickman here. Welcome to Talk Tips number 4. Now, in the previous Talk Tips number 3, I talked about briefly the 4 different kinds of stages, and I want to go over that with you today. So there are actually 4 different kinds of stages. And if you're keeping track, as you should be, of how many stages you have won, you're about to add numbers to your grand total. So check this out. If you were drawing this like in a matrix, right? The vertical line in this matrix on the right and left side would be yours versus somebody else's. That means stages that you own versus stages that somebody else owns. That's on the right and left side. Then you draw a horizontal line, and on the top and the bottom, you're saying these are digital stages and these are physical stages. Now, there are some easy stages for you to win once you know what the stages are. The number one easiest stage for you to be on that you can do today, as soon as you stop listening to this talk tip in the next 10 minutes, your own digital stage. And that doesn't mean necessarily hosting a webinar. You don't have to go through all that time, energy, and effort, although they are wonderful, and eventually that you should. But before you go to bed today, you might not have a webinar put together. I know, weird. So what you want to do if you want to get on stage today, guaranteed, is go live on social media. Go deliver your signature presentation in a 2-minute snippet. Go live on social media and answer a question. You could go to Quora.com, or maybe you've downloaded the app, and search questions that are relevant to your topic of expertise. You can also go to Google and look up questions. Start typing in questions, and when you scroll down and it says, here's what other people are asking, answer some of those questions on a live, either on Facebook or on TikTok if you have that access, or whatever. Maybe you just record a video and you post it on your YouTube channel. Whatever platform you're trying to grow, you can either go live or record a video and post it. Your own digital stage is the easiest and fastest way to get on stage. Now, there's another really easy and fast, although not quite as fast, way to get on other people's stages. Now, what's really important about getting on other people's stages is that now you're growing your audience, right? Let's just say you have 1,000 followers on Instagram, and then you get on a podcast, and that podcast has 5,000 followers on Instagram. Well, now you've grown your audience by a factor of 5x. Now, if with your call to action, that audience will convert into leads, that won't be at 100%, or maybe it will, but not every single one of those listeners is becoming a lead. Just understand that. But you're getting exposure. What you want is for your name to become a household name. You can't do that if nobody can hear you. So other people's digital stages like podcasts are a fantastic way to grow your stage count and grow your audience. Now, if you want to, you got to go to my podcast database if you haven't already. If you haven't looked at it yet this week and you already have access, go look at it this week. I update that podcast database twice a week. So you got to save a bookmark on your browser and literally set some time aside in your calendar to check the database for podcasts that might be relevant to your topic and your expertise. Go into that podcast database and apply to be on shows twice a week. I like my rule of thumb to be 10 applications a month, bare minimum. You can go above and beyond if you want, but 10 a month will allow you to stay consistent. So that's a version of other people's digital stages. You can also be published in news articles. It doesn't even have to be live. You can be giving interviews. That's a great way. Here's the 2 more, right? So you have your own physical stages, which again are your going live. They're your webinars. They're your Zoom calls. By the way, when you're doing fulfillment for your team, let's say you own a weekly coaching call, that is your own digital stage. So add that to your stage tally book. Okay, so then you have your digital stages. Now we've got your physical stages. When I first started speaking, I was challenged, and I'm going to extend this challenge to you, to create your own physical stage twice a month, even if it means opening up the doors of your home. And if you live in a condo, use your clubhouse, whatever the case may be. In fact, you can usually rent a room at the library for free. You can bring people to you physically, and I promise you, the interaction is way better and the conversions are way higher when people can be literally in your airspace. So your own physical stages, again, that can be in your home, it can be at a library. You might work with other event coordinators that are trying to get exposure to their event, and you can use their event space for free or really cheap. Your own physical stage is when the most of your conversions happen, and don't be afraid if it starts small. My first physical stage, nobody came. 0 people showed up. I delivered my signature presentation anyway, because I didn't want it to be my fault that the universe didn't get my message. So I shared it and I practiced it, and all of my hiccups got to happen with nobody watching, which was really cool. Now, the most coveted stage is other people's physical stages. These are things like big, large events, event corporation meetings that they hold and then have you come in and speak. Conferences are a big one. Workshops are a big one. A breakout speaker at a big conference is a really big physical stage. Now, those physical stages are usually a precipitation of having appeared on other people's stages and your stage consistently enough to where you get asked to speak. It also comes, like I talked in the last talk tip, from showing up to those events. Usually people don't get asked to speak on stage if they don't know somebody in the event space already. And the way you get to know those people is by one, showing up to those events, and two, by connecting with the people that put on the event. So write down your dream stage, whether it's a TEDx stage or whether it's a TED Talk full-blown stage, or whether it's a WealthCon stage, or whether it's a FitCon stage, or whatever conference or convention might be relevant to your topic. Write down your dream stages and start looking for ways to get in touch with the people who are in charge of putting people on those stages. Become obvious in their sight, meaning like just show up, be consistent with social media. Because here's the thing I got to tell you. If you're going to get booked on stage, the people that will book you are going to do one of two things. One, they're either going to be scoping you out right now because they heard of you, or two, when they meet you in person because you showed up, they need to see your track record. They need to be able to see that you're consistent with showing up on social media. They need to be able to see that you're consistent with posting your stuff and becoming known. Most of your followers will come because word of mouth reached them. That's been my experience. Most of my followers have come because I added enough value either physically in their world or digitally in their world that then they went back and followed me because they liked what I saw with the consistency of how I showed up. So those are the 4 different kinds of stages. Let's recap. We've got your physical, your digital, other people's physical, and other people's digital. When you understand exactly what a stage is, and I'm not exaggerating here, you could easily block out 10 stage appearances in the next 30 days. My students are getting literally hundreds of stages a year because they understand what a stage is and they understand how to show up. If you want access to the podcast database, all you got to do is text the word podcast to 801-509-5495. Remember to follow if this was helpful. Give the video a thumbs up. We always love to do that. And we'll see you in the next Talk Tips. Marianne Hickman here again. Listen, I hope super helpful for you. Maybe you learned something new. Share with me in the comments what was valuable. Or if you have this whole separate question like, hey, I wanted to know about this. I wanted to know about stage fright. I want to know how about my presentation on stage. I want to know about how to dress on stage. Anything that you want to know that's relevant to growing your business through stages, put the questions. Because guess what? I go through and answer all of those personally. That's not an agency or a VA. That's me going through and looking at your questions because you are who I am here for. So last thing is I want you to get this database. If you haven't gotten it already, now I've got thousands of downloads on this thing, so maybe you've got it, but if not, make sure you go to mariannehickman.com/database. What that's going to do is take you to a page. You're going to input all of your information. We're going to send the database to you. You're going to request access to it. I keep it locked down so I can make sure I get it to just the right people. And you're going to request access. And then once you have that, you're going to go through and apply to podcasts that have the topic that you'd be an expert speaking on. Here's the thing. I get this database updated twice a week. So there's always new stuff in there. And if you're a podcaster, there's even a list of 400 plus guests that you can have on your show, on that podcast. Maybe you end up doing a podcast swap and you grow your audience that way. Regardless, I want you to get it. So mariannehickman.com/database, and we'll see you in the next Talk Tips.